In this video, we're going to continue walking through creating a Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. So this will be the third video of the series. And we ended the last video by right-clicking on slide 3. So we did a right-click on slide 3, and we chose New Slide. And that's where we're at now. Now, hopefully you noticed that when I did a right-click, it did not give you the option to choose a layout. And what happens is by default, you get the layout of the previous slide. So if you just want to continue doing the same exact slide layout, probably your shortest and quickest way of creating a new slide is by doing a right click. Okay, but still at any point, I could change this by going up to the ribbon, and this would be my new slide section right here. And right next to the word new slide, kind of looks like a very small slide, is my layout button. I could select that button and I could change the layout of the slide at any point when I want to. Okay, just select the slide that you would like, the layout, and choose change layout. Okay, but I like where I'm at now. I actually plan on finishing off the rest of this slideshow presentation with the two content layout. And the way that I enter text here is the same that I would have done before. Anywhere you want to enter text, you go ahead and click that area. You'll be able to change the color, the size, the bullet style, everything that we already covered in the previous parts of this series. You can also insert pictures like we have done before. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few pieces of text here, and then we'll run through inserting the picture once again. Okay, you can see that I did add some text, and I also increased the font size of my title. I changed the color to the blue that we've been using so far in the series. I increased my text to 36. Did not change the text name though, it's still the same. And I increased the text here to 32. Just going to run through a couple different things here before I move on to the picture. Number one, let's take a look at changing the bullet type. I could come up here to the section where I have my bulleted library. I could select that, and I could change my bullet type. Right next to there, I have my numbering library, where I not only have numbers, but I also have letters. Okay, so I'm going to change this to A and B, and then I'm going to hit Enter, and notice how C by default is right there. Let me just type in a letter. So the next thing is C. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and type in a couple things here. Memory will be the first one. And what I'm going to do is tab this in. So notice how, again, the font got smaller. Okay, so the font will get smaller, and it's actually, if you look at the top, it's size 28. I'll hit Enter one more time. Type in tasks, and you can see once again how the font is the same size. So I have a font size of 32 there and a font size of 28 right there. So if you have the room, you may want to increase the font size. If you're working with a larger audience, again, you may want to increase the font size. Now, I'm not really too fond of the capital A and B here, so I'm going to show you how we could change that once again by going up to the bullets. And I'm going to choose the Roman numerals except with the lowercase i's. I think that's a pretty neat looking feature right there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I don't know if I did the bullet enough, so let me go ahead and bullet CPU. I'm sorry, bold type CPU, and change that to a font color that I might want to stand out a little bit more here, so I could see what yellow looks like. If you're not a big fan of yellow, notice how the B also changed color as well. So you may or may not want to do that depending on if you want your colors to change or not change. So keep in mind that when you change the CPU, it's going to change the bullet type too, the color. Okay, so it'll be up to you how many features you want to add, whether you want to add more italicize, underline, and so on. That's up to you. It depends on the program that you're working with or trying to present to, depends on your audience. So adding these features will really depend on your audience. Okay, and will depend on your topic. So at this point, I want to add a picture to the right side. And last time I used the icon at the lower left, but this time I want to use the Insert tab from the ribbon. So make sure Insert is selected at the top. And third option in is Pictures. And if you go ahead and select Pictures, it's going to ask you want to insert it from your device or maybe the internet. I'm going to select this device. And this dialog box should look familiar. It's the same exact dialog box as before. I'm going to have to choose my file. And once again, hopefully before this you have a selection of pictures that you know you'd like to use. I would select one. I could either double click that or select it and hit open. I'm going to use that option this time. Confirm it by using the insert button, and there you go. Okay, once again I can move this. And if you're using online Microsoft, you're probably going to get this designer feature that comes up and tries to help you out. You can always just close that, as I've been doing. So you could left mouse click this and drag that around. You can make the picture larger. And that really depends on how much text you have on the left. Okay, so you could probably go a little bit larger with the image if you have a smaller amount of text. Okay, as we did there. So I resized that with the handlebars, and I used the left mouse select and hold and drag feature to go ahead and move that around. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So that is my slide 4. I'm just going to select off of that, and you could take a look at that real quick. And I think we're going to be ready to move on to slide 5. So to create slide 5, I'm going to do right click because this was the shortest. I'm going to continue with the to content layout. I'm happy with that. And the quickest way to do that is to right click. So you notice in slide 5, I already added some text and insert a picture. But what I really want to take a look at in slide 5 is working with the text. So what I like to do is I like to get all of my main headings typed in first. So alternatives. And then I start to throw in my sub topics later, okay, with a smaller font size if I choose. Okay, so I'm going to tab that in. And you can see hard drive. Hard drive is a little smaller. If I go to memory, I tab this in. Here's flash. And I have a few alternatives I'm going to add. I'm going to tab that in. And network, cloud, and smart cards are all a smaller font. Now also, hopefully you noticed there that when I was beginning to exit out of the area of the text, it actually condensed the font size so that could fit. To avoid that, you could actually use the handlebars of the text box here. This is one large text box, and you could do the same thing you did with the picture. You could move it around. You could adjust the height and width. You could actually bring this in, make that a little bit smaller. You can move this over to the right if you'd like to have your picture, or if you were working with a table, you can move the text box over to the right. Okay, so this is a simple text box, and it has pretty much all the features of a picture, where you could format it and adjust it any way you want. So this allows me to move my picture over a little bit more and make that a little bit larger. Okay, so that's a really nice feature to keep in mind, that you're not stuck in that default position. You can move around your pictures and your text box as in any place that you like, as many times as you like, and you could adjust them to whatever size you would like. Okay, so I wanted to point that out with slide C. So at this point, I'm going to do my right click and continue to add a few more slides. Okay, with this slide, I want to take a look at a few things as far as formatting goes and making sure your slide looks as presentable as possible. Notice that I already did make a couple changes. I increased the font size. I got rid of all of my bullets here, but I will add some bullets in, a different style, but I will add those in. And notice how my picture is on the smaller side. So I really didn't make any formatting changes as far as location of the text box. So my text box is still in the standard position as well. But let's just take a look how we could modify this. I really want to get this picture a little bit larger. So I'm going to go up here to the title of the slide, and in my paragraph section next to my bullet and numbering library is my text alignment button. So if I hit that drop down arrow, okay, I'm going to do a right alignment. There's nothing that says that everything has to stay in the right or the default position in a slide. So I'm going to set that to a right justification, and that's going to allow me plenty of room to showcase this picture. Okay, and again, you could make this really as large or small as you want, and you could position that in any location that you want. So the goal here is to make professional looking slides. So that's one way of doing that. Over here on the right, I got rid of the bullet right at the beginning, and it continued that pattern of having the bullet being missing all the way down. But if you do that, that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this section and add a bullet into there. And I'm going to choose the square this time, I think. Square bullet, just for something different. And also, I really wanted these to be tabbed in. So I'm going to come down here and tab these in and watch what happens there. The font size still does get a little bit smaller. Okay, if you want the button or the bullet to change, you could also use a different bullet there. Maybe you want a checkbox. And you could still adjust the font size. By default, it does get smaller, which is something that you may want. But if you really want that to be the same size as everything else, just make sure you highlight that and go ahead and choose that. Okay, so not a problem. But that looks like it fits pretty nice in this text box. I'm not going to need to make any adjustments. If I do want to, I could always minimize the text box, and I could center that underneath my heading. Okay, so the sky's the limit as far as the formatting that you could do. Anything you could format in Microsoft Word, you could format here. So I wanted to point that out with slide 6. Now before I finish off the slideshow, I do have a couple more slides to actually add. I want you to also kind of pay attention to the location of the pictures. I'll slowly go through these. Notice how I had some pictures on the right. I have some pictures now on the left. Again, there's nothing that says you have to stay in that default setting that you're given at the beginning. You can make adjustments of format as you go through and as you see fit. Okay, whatever fits your presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and do right click and get set up for one of my few final slides here with this same to content slide. And this will finish this part in the series. And I'll see you again in the next part of the series. So until next time.